even today. I went through the classics. We were very fortunate to have a lot of repertory cinemas that just showed films, double bills and so forth and whatnot. And it just gave me the opportunity just to view the world.
And so not traditional views though, right? So your views have always been your own.
I don't know what traditional means.
Well, so think about sort of time at Tisch, right? Your time at Tisch, NYU, and sort of that frame of filmmaking and sort of those strictures that.
Well, I don't really necessarily believe in traditional. I just believe in what's good and what's bad. And then again, what happened? After leaving art school, and I was using the camera. I was making artworks, and I still do. Obviously, I'm an artist as well as anything else. And what happened? I went to NYU. Was that there wasn't that, for me at least, and other people of course enjoy film school and do very, very well. But for me, maybe because I had the basis of experimenting, of freedom, of finding out how things worked or didn't work or failing, it was very frustrating to me to sort of have a situation where I couldn't sort of experiment as such, and there was sort of this regime. But of course, it's very good for other people. It wasn't necessarily good for me.
Mm-hmm. And so as you think about sort of moving from the short to the feature, and so telling the longer story.
I'm sorry to correct you again.
Okay.
It's not about length. It's not about again. It's this traditional idea. I mean, it's all about the moment. Mm-hmm. One is in film, and it's there's not a situation of probably the popcorn and soda. Sometimes that's not necessary. Sometimes it could be just something which is 15 minutes could be the world. Mm. So for me, it was always a situation of finding what worked for me as such.
Right.
Well, it's different language for me, at least.
It works for us in different languages. And so talk to us, if you would, about the journey of this film. I know the conversation has always been about how to find it and why this, but I would love to talk more about the conversation you hoped to start with this and the conversation you've been having. Does that make sense?
For me, it was, what it was is, when my wife found the book, the process was that I wanted to make a film about slavery. I needed the in. I had this idea of a free man who's from the north, who's sort of dragged into slavery, and me, the audience, follow him within the maze of slavery, of him trying to sort of, regain his freedom. And then I was looking at the script, it wasn't going so well, and my wife said, well, you're looking to true accounts of slavery. She found this book called 12 Years a Slave. And when I read it, it was just, of course, it was a revelation to me, because, I didn't know Solomon Northrup, I didn't know 12 Years a Slave. And I was asking myself why. I thought, I was very embarrassed actually. I thought it was quite stupid. And I realized no one I knew about this book. And living in Amsterdam as I do, the whole idea of Anne Frank and Anne Frank's diary is so huge and so big. It was required reading when I was in England, to read Anne Frank's diary. So what upset me in a way afterwards was, how come I know Anne Frank but I didn't know Solomon Northrup? It's very odd. I mean, and I read 12 Years a Slave, I thought, this is the Anne Frank diary of America. It was amazing, beautiful, rich, detailed. How did I not know? How did anyone didn't know this book? It's a classic. And that was my passion. I had to make this book. Also to have a situation where I do believe sometimes we could be magnets, something that you want comes to you. Because by having that narrative and then having it fully formed, basically as a script in my hand, the book was just amazing. So it was just meant to be it.
And so that's the piece, but then there's the sort of machine of having to promote it and having to talk about it and having to engage.
I love that. I'll do it all day long.
And so I'm doing it now. But so has that conversation been what you expected it to be? And so people are certainly uncomfortable in some regards and sort of I've seen interviews where they put their issues on the film and on you.
Great. That's what art's for. Art is for debate, art is for reflection of where we are now and where we've come. So it's wonderful to have that kind of, it's alive. And again, I always feel for me, an artwork is always, it can be, as a film, it's an advanced viewpoint of a subject matter, which actually can cause debate. Once the movie's finished, you exit and you enter into the everyday, that debate and those images could go on. Because when you leave the cinema, immediately you're confronted with the narrative of slavery. You're confronted with the cause and effect of slavery as you leave cinema.
Right.
It's right there in front of you, so it's great and healthy.
Well, that's fantastic. And so, but have there been conversations that you particularly loved? The spaces where you're in a room and the people just sort of resonated in a way?
Well, everywhere I've been, actually, I'll be honest with you. It's just, you know, caused people to think and to talk and to talk about themselves. I mean, the first thing what happened was very interesting. We went to Orlando to the National Black Media Conference. And what was so interesting, the film wasn't even shown because it wasn't debuted, it was in Toronto and Telluride. What happened was that we showed a couple of clips and there was a junket. And there was about, I don't know how many people, there may be 200 odd people in the room. And this lady stood up and she had never said this before in public, that her father, I think it was her father, her grandfather. Her grandfather was poisoned for teaching kids how to read in the 40s. And she had just come to terms with it. In a way, she only found out about 10 years ago. And the fact that she could vocalize that pain in front of everyone was because of the movie, because this film, of course, is about someone trying to write a letter for 12 years.
Right.
So it just gave people a platform. It gave her a platform. It gave her an avenue to talk, to allow it. You know, she was allowed to have a voice. And it's the power of cinema. You know, cinema's, you know, it can do things.
And what have you found the voice that you've encountered across America as you've gone across with this film? So one of the things that I think about, today I watched Shame again, just in preparation for this. And so thinking about that was resonant to this film for me in terms of the emotion of the protagonist and the antagonist in this movie. And so I'm curious as to if you had to do the blanket across America, what the experience has been in terms of the cathartic experience of this film with people. Has that what's the texture of that?
What's interesting for me is it's been active. It's been, you know, I mean, for me, this is not a passive movie. I mean, I think what's interesting for me is that people have, in some ways, I mean, I always wanted the film as to be almost like a call to arms. Not in the huge sort of gun-ho way, but even just a sort of, at the end of the day, what can I do to help a circumstance or situation? Even to call a friend to say, you know, how are you? I'll be there for you, or just the minute things that we can actually do, we can actually change. Often we're paralyzed by what we see on the TV or what we see on the news. We're helpless. But actually, you know, what we can do in some ways, what little we can do is a lot.
It's a lot.
So that's what I mean. And then again, that's what the debate of what's been occurring during these Q&As. And that's why, you know, I'm never tired to talk about the film, because it always ends up about bigger things, which is beautiful. And often the biggest thing we talk about is love. You know, it's you know, sound like a hippie, but
it's wonderful. So you were in Minneapolis just yesterday, right? Yeah. And so can you talk to us a bit about what happened there and sort of the audiences that you encountered as you were there?
Yeah, I was at the Walker Art Center, and then there was another screening in a so-called black cinema, which was sort of not black, was very mixed, half black, half white. You know. Yeah, that's the, it was a human cinema. And it was great, and it was lively debate. I mean, it was, you know, obviously they reflect on the movie, but also reflect on their own circumstances and the immediate conversations they were having there. And it was very lively, very, very lively.
And so as you think about the experience with the cast post-film, can you talk to us a bit about that? So we've all taken this journey with them, and we've all seen you all in various places, but just talk about, and everyone asks, you know, how they trust you and how they get to this place. But can you talk to us a bit about sort of how you all as a collective process and walk through this post sort of screening experience now that it's out in the world?
Well, it's sort of, it's fun. It's fun. I don't know exactly how to answer that question in the sense of the way that, you know, we're just happy that people appreciate the work. And, you know, it's just the energy. I mean, what's happened often is just to see the whole, like, the universality of what we've been experiencing as far as not just audiences, but, you know, how we reflect on it. You know, you've got Lupita, who's sort of, as she rightly says, Mexican. She's born in Mexico, but she's a, you know, Kenyan heritage. You've got Chiwetel, who's a Nigerian, British, myself, you know, West Indian, but whatever. You've got Alfie with American. I mean, you know, again, it's just this universality, this kind of diaspora. Paul Dano, Michael Fassbender. It's really us, it's, you know, that we can come together and do something, you know, which we think is worthy. It's great.
And so, you know,